Okay, believe we're live. So today we're doing pure design. We're not even going to open up Unity or Visual Studio. Today is all about just design, which is fun. It's easier. Is it easier? I don't know. It's more important. It's less stressful. Let me just sort out the things. God, I look awful. I just went out for a walk in the rain. Ugh. You can see. Do I have a receding hairline? I don't know. Right. Yeah, let's make me a little bit smaller. And yeah, here we are. So this is a mirror board. This is where I start doing my design. This feels wrong. Should it be like that? 8 weapons. 8. Why is it sorry, yeah, so what I'm thinking about is, so orcs have more weapon options than ally options. I just think that sort of is a bit of character, but also just sort of adds a bit more gameplay variety. But I feel like it should have been not... So we've got 10 and 10 here, right? This is 8 and 12. I wonder if it should be instead... 9 and 11, rather. Which one could we get? Yeah, so like we get rid of plank and so on. So there's our first question. So we are doing design today. We are answering this type of question. So the question is... So a human has 10 talents, 10 weapons, 10 allies, right? That's the human faction. Human beings. The red ones are weapons. The blue ones are allies. And the yellow ones are talents. Every faction is going to have 10 talents, and they are going to be mostly, if not entirely, the same. And I thought it would make sense if the orcs had access to more weapons but fewer allies. Because they are more about brutish warriors winning the day and spamming than they are about unit variety. Right? But I'm now questioning, why did I make it 2 more weapons and 2 fewer allies rather than just 1? Because it feels a little bit like too much of a difference, right? So I feel like before I've even started on the new faction, I'm now questioning my older design decisions. So let's backtrack a bit. So today I haven't done much. I've just been working on a YouTube video. That's another big question, is should I spend time doing YouTube videos that should be spent doing game dev, right? I mean, I have to do some YouTube because I need to get the message out there one way or another. But does it make sense to do like edited or scripted YouTube videos, even if they're just talking heads? It's taken me all day to do that. It feels like too much. So that's another question. The question for right now is... So yeah, this one has 8 allies, 12 weapons. I think it should be 9 and 11. Which would mean I'd have a bit of reworking to do here, but that's fine. I could get rid of the plank and the spiked shield and just say that orcs don't have shields. Because I think that's about right. Like there is a unit that has a shield, but we don't have to let the player have a shield. I think that makes sense. I think we should get rid of the plank and the spike shield and add a new unit which would also be something that would appear when you're playing against them. And I do actually already kind of have one in mind, but it wouldn't be that much of a pain to redo one. I don't need to do that now, but I do need to think about... So let's just pop this down here. I do need to think about whether I want the same... Because I like... I mean, maybe it's not that important, but I like symmetry. So I want to see that... if it's 10-10 and this is 12-8, this should also be 8-12. Rather than this being 12-8 and this one being 9-11, right? So I think this should be... But for starters, yeah, I think that's instinctively correct. I think that makes sense. Let's make this 9 and 11. So we have 9 weapons, 11 allies for the undead. Our goal today here... So we're doing that. So I need to make a note. I haven't even opened my thingy today. Yeah, so we've got a couple notes from yesterday. Frostbite shouldn't be available to green beans. That's an easy one. And I need to do the lightning attack debuff and an artifact to go with it. But that's not a priority. Let's focus on what we're doing today. So I need to add to this. Remove 1. When I say 1, I mean like 2, because we've got them on the right side as well. But I think the parity should also be there. So remove 1 orc weapon and add an orc ally. So yeah, and then I need to do these connections. If you're new here, the connections are how we determine the combinations. So each upgrade can be combined with 2 other upgrades, with the possibility of 2 other upgrades to create a combined upgrade. So what we have is an axe can be combined with a chain heel to make a guitar, or the axe can be combined with a orc to make a chief, right? And so each one has to have 2 outputs and each one on the left has to have 2 outputs, and each one on the right has to have 2 inputs. Does that make sense? Okay. So before we worry about those inputs and outputs, we just want to design. I mean, maybe I shouldn't do this on stream, but I think it's fun. I think it's fun for you to see. Kind of keeps me focused. So we have a summoning staff. I should have like little descriptions as well. So summoning staff summons like a skeleton. Summons like a zombie or skeleton. I guess what it would be, yeah, like let's say a skeleton. Do we have skeleton? Well, we don't have skeleton, so skeleton. Zombie. Very basic stuff. Zombie, high HP, low damage output. Skeleton, normal HP, medium damage output. But the zombie would be more like it's like a meat sack. It's a tank type thing. Staff of Command would be a weapon. It's a buff. It's essentially a buff. It's just a buff. It's just a friendly buff. That's it. But it would feel more like, if you've seen Staff of... I think there's a similar thing called Command in one of the Diablo games where you press this button and it briefly makes all of your guys attack really strongly, and you can kind of point where to go. In this case, it will basically operate like a very short buff, like a 1 second buff that triggers every 4 seconds or so, that just really boosts your guys and like resets their cooldowns, makes them attack, right? Scythe, kind of just a wide range, high AoE weapon. Chris, It's basically a dagger. High crit, low range, low AoE, mid and high damage. Evil sword. Yeah, just an evil sword. They've all every faction has its own version of the basic sword. We've got sword, scimitar, evil sword. They all do the same thing. Icicle, that's a nice easy one because again, each faction has 2 elements. Right? There are 3 elements in total, and each faction has 2 of them, and no 2 factions have the same one, except for demons, which will have access to all elements. Not necessarily going to be like that, but that's how it is at the moment. You have to have a plan, even if you change that plan later. Okay. So Icicle and Chain Lightning are easy, just like we have Fireball and Chain Lightning here, and we have Icicle and Fireball here. For the undead. So that's a bunch of weapons. What other weapons are archetypal to an undead type of faction? So we need to think of... Who else are we thinking of? I mean, there could be like the orcs also have access to a bow. Am I correct? Did I change that? I might have changed that. Yeah, the orcs don't have a bow, but their units do. But I'm thinking of a very famous undead character who would turn people into undead with their bow. I think that's iconic enough that you can say it, and you could also say that this bow, while it doesn't do tons of damage, would have that effect of resurrecting enemies. That's another fundamental thing to think about. Wouldn't we want that effect for all weapons? Would that be something just for the like evil sword in this bow that it would call? So the way it works in Warcraft, there are weapons where I think it's Sylvanas' bow, and when you hit someone with it, they gain a debuff for a few seconds, and then if the unit dies while it's got that debuff, it will get resurrected as an enemy, as an ally. Why wouldn't we have that on everything? It wouldn't make sense here. It wouldn't make sense here. It might make sense on the scythe, but doesn't have to. Might make sense on the crisp, but doesn't have to. But it would kind of make sense for the sword and the bow. So let's just go with evil bow. Right? And then all we have to do is think of one more basic archetypal weapon. We've already changed mark and piercing. So yeah, it's poison and plague in both cases. Poison... plague. And what did I write up here? All undead units should have HP regen by default. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, but I'm just going to keep that parked over here. So what are some other archetypal weapons for an undead hero? Some kind of spear. We've got the scythe, and so we can think in terms of gameplay, and we can think in terms of character storytelling. So let me think. Well, let me think, and let me also like look these things up online. So I'll go like famous undead characters, and I'll just go to images. Spawn. So I'm looking at this. Are we doing vampires as undead? I think that would kind of make sense. There's the kind of... I just saw someone with a spade. There's the kind of crude weapon that you might expect to use on a zombie. Right? So you're kind of... like a baseball bat, like a Negan baseball bat, right? That's one possibility. A spiked baseball bat, although it doesn't really fit the theme. What else can we see here? Famous undead characters. I mean, you've got like werewolves, but we've kind of done that. That's so scary still. Chain? A whip? A chain? I think that's more of a demon thing. But like chains, that's spawn. That seems like it could be like a level 2 weapon. So let's just pop it here. And we'll just say chains and just randomly... I feel like that would fit well with... let's just pop it here. Chains. I think that's cool. There's nothing else to it, then it's just cool. And it seems like an undead type thing. I'm also thinking of like an anchor. Right? Let's just pop that to the side. Anchor. Okay, famous undead characters. So Spawn has given us a chain. We've got our scythe. So yeah, thinking of gameplay, we can look at what we've got here and find like equivalences. So yeah, we've got our sword equivalent. Dagger, spear, crit, that's our Chris, and kind of like our like a blunt weapon. Like I'm thinking, Gungrave, that's a fun one. So like as someone could be like having a big gravestone, and it could have some kind of effect, like a big AoE, but also just like summons units. Undeaders are all going to be all about unit summoning. Okay, gravestone, that's another good one. What was I looking at? Yeah, this guy, medieval. Oh yeah, Scorpion. I mean, he's kind of undead. I don't know if that counts as like a famous undead character, but again, we'll take the inspiration. So some kind of like some weapon that has negative knockback that would pull enemies towards you. Yeah, that kind of works. I like that. So a get over hereer. What do you call that? A grabber. I mean, that's kind of similar to the chain, but that works as a kind of lead-in. So let's go with, and also whip. Whip is sounds to me like Castlevania, so maybe that does work. Oh, Impaler. Okay, Impaler, because of Vlad the Impaler. Impaler is the thing. That's our version of the spear. And whip is allowed. That's an option. Like, but maybe not a whip, but like a sectioned sword. You know those? Like that character from Soul Calibur. We've got our evil sword. We've got our mega evil sword. We've got Ice Beam and Storm Cloud. Those are easy fixes because the Ice Beam the humans have, that's our Ice evolution, and our Chain Lightning evolution is Storm Cloud, which the orcs have. It's the same thing. That's an easy win. Impaler seems good to me. So it is just a spear, but we're calling it the Impaler, and it could have that get over here effect. It could have negative knockback, meaning it would pull enemies towards you. What's the advantage of that? Well, if you have... I don't know. Someone will find a use for it. Okay. Gravestone would be this. Gravestone would be the equivalent of the Quake Morningstar and the, what did we call it? The hammer, the Quake hammer. Okay, so I think we have our ones from the left. Shields. I don't think shield is a very undead thing. I think instead of having a shield, you just summon more units. Zombies are your shields. Hammer, crossbow, ranged. We've got our bow. We don't need. Okay, and then we've got our explosive arrow. So yeah, our evil bow should become something like our like we should just have a kind of the equivalent of an explosive arrow, explosive bow and arrows, or something like really strong. So like a very evil bow. Just call it very evil bow. Malevolent bow. We'll change the names. We'll come up with something much cooler. And then we've got one that is a big buffer. Scroll of Inspiration and Guitar, but Staff of Command doesn't require you, and I think that makes sense, but we could evolve the Staff of Command into something much more powerful, like just like an evolved Staff of Command, like I'm thinking of like Lord of the Rings evil weapons, like a Palantir type thing, but I mean that's not really a weapon, but like a super Staff of Command. Like some of these can just be like super Staff of Command, which would like just really be an enhanced version of this. That basically just feels like a stronger version. Something that buffs allies. Yeah, we've got that. Great sword, explosive hammer. I mean, yeah, a lot of it can just be like enhanced versions. So we've got our summoning staff. Like, yeah, super summoning stuff. Really being super creative here. But my style of design, as you might have noticed, is very much to just put it in, see how it goes, and then fix it later. You shouldn't always be like that. Like that's tempered with, I mean, do the best design you can do, informed by good choices, but you kind of like you're not going to know, and until I've got a better idea, this works. So we've got like a super friendly buff, a super summoning staff, which because this is essentially just summoning another unit. Should it be a resurrection staff? Like it's not just summoning units; it's summoning enemy units that have died. So it's something that would scale with the enemy's power, but a super version would be like summoning like higher tier versions of the enemies that you've just killed. Okay, I think the scythe would naturally have lifesteal. But what if we had something that was very... Okay, so gravestone, anchor. Anchor doesn't feel great. Is chains basically the whip? I think chains is our get over here. It's like high AoE, get over here, chain, bring it, pull enemies towards you. Why would you want to do that? Because you've got strong stuff. Goblin launcher, lightning blade, lifesteal machete. So they've got a lifesteal weapon. Meteors, storm cloud, supreme glaive, quake morning star, grenades. Yeah, they've got fun like goblin-y stuff in addition to the orky stuff. Gravestone is cool. I just think that's inherently cool, which could evolve from the scythe. I think that works. Anchor feels a bit meh, and whip feels a bit meh with the chains. But that does just leave us with one more weapon to fit in here. I don't want to overthink it. I don't want to underthink it either, though. Whip. So it's a Chris. Yeah, so chains can be one thing, and then our like whip, like Chris plus something else would be like a rope with a blade in the end, right? What do you call that? What do you call a rope with a blade on the end? Thank you, AI. A rope dart, Shengbao, Kusarigama. Kusari. Yeah, that's cool. That's quite cool, actually. And this would be your like Scorpion get over here, or the chains would be. It doesn't have to, but or it can just be this like very high AOE, critty weapon. Okay, let's call it Kusari. Let's westernize it though. I do love mixing East and like medieval East and medieval Japanese and medieval English stuff along with like wuxia stuff, but I kind of want to stick to Western stuff for this one. You know, like Suikoden, like it's this world where you've got like feudal Japan right next to medieval Europe. That is cool. I like that, but let's Kusari. So Chris becomes like, is there like something that sounds like Kusari, like curse? Kursari, curse. Yeah, let's just call it Kusari for now. We'll change the name later. Okay. So knife on a rope. And then yeah, the scythe can be a gravestone, which will be our like heavy AoE thing. Which can have some kind of secondary effect that I haven't thought of yet, but this works for me. The whip is made up for by the chains and the Kusari. Oh, and remember, there's always space for more weapons. I do want to have like a third tier where basically everything doesn't combine into two things. It can combine into one thing. So flaming sword. So it would be like explosive arrow plus throwing daggers would be machine gun. That kind of thing. But for now, okay, and anchor is just, yeah, it's too sea related. If we have a pirate tribe, that would be good, but we don't. Okay. Okay, that works. This has gone back to spiked armor. Yeah, this is space magic again. So this is no longer Blizzard, this is time and space magic, because I think that's cool. That's kind of universal. Space magic is universal. It's galactic. No, Lifesteal, Plague, yeah, that's all the same. And these don't change. The only one that would change is Night of the Dead, because we could probably just keep Reign of Chicken. Night of the Dead would have been like summon random allies occasionally. Let's go Reign of Chicken still. Let's just keep that. Alright. So we have designed our weapons. Summoning staff, or like resurrecting staff, I think is more fun. So we're like resurrecting enemies. Resurrecting staff. Res staff. Staff of resurrection. Is there like a more... No, what's the right spelling? Is it 1R and 2 S's? No, is it 2 R's and 1 S? That's alright. Okay, Staff of Resurrection and Staff of Unlife. Super Staff of Resurrection. Okay. Staff of Command is like a staple. You've got to have that, and then the super version of that would like do something cool as well. Would be like the ultimate like friendly buff. Scythe is gravestone. Okay. Yeah, that works for me. We kind of lean into the famous undead bow user by having 2 versions of the bow. We reference Vlad the Impaler with the Impaler, and that becomes the chains. These feel like undead things. The Kusari reminds me also of Demon Slayer, the demon from that. And demons, I mean, that's demons, but rope knife. We'll come up with another word for it. Ice Screeve, Ice Beam. Some of these, okay, and so some of these will require like new programming, like Staff of Resurrection and stuff. Like, yeah, I need to find an enemy unit and bring them back to life. And that's what this staff will do. Evil sword. And then the evil sword and the evil bow will also have that effect. So we have a couple instances of like bringing enemies back from the dead to fight for us, which is what we want. That's all we want, really. Chris and Kusari, yeah, Scythe and to Gravestone. Gravestone can have this like heal nearby allies by how much damage we do, like a sort of AoE lifesteal. I think that works. Super Staff of Command is just super. Super Staff of Resurrection again is like it's crazy. It's not really doable, but I would love to be able to like somehow like stitch together enemies. So you would take like a wizard and a witch and stitch them together into someone that can do fireballs and ice balls, right? And icicles. Yeah, but for now, this works. We can work on the details later. Today, the only goal is to have designed it so that I can crack on with the work. Alright, skeleton. Zombie. Like, yeah, like so we have vampire, and then we have like vampire lord. So we go from like the sort of skulky, like low blood vampire to like a vampire to like a Dracula looking guy. We go from like zombie to golem. We have skeletal archer, because that is also kind of a staple. We have goblin and goblin archer. I think it's fine. We can have some kind of frost revenant. Yeah, like revenant. Frost revenant, like a sort of floating frosty person that shoots icicles and maybe has some melee weapon as well. We have a buffer. We should have a buffer. So who is the buff? Oh yeah, like so in Warhammer you've got like these undead chariots. So be like a like a ziggurat, you know, like what is the. So for the human, we have the bannerman. So someone holds the flag of the humans, and it makes everyone happy. The orcs have a drummer. What's the equivalent of the undead? I think like yeah, like a chariot. Like a grave, right? but graves are going to be like part of the scenery anyway. Yeah, like a grave, right? Which easily gives us our gravestone weapon. Yeah, so a grave. Grave. And it could do like a sort of fairly decent buff, like a fairly weak buff. But yeah, it could do like a fairly weak buff, but like when it dies, it turns into a random friendly unit kind of thing. And then we go from like a grave to a hearse. Is that the right word? A hearse is the vehicle that you bring dead people in. Yeah, a hearse. Medieval. What's a medieval hearse? Medieval hearse. Okay, yeah. So that's where they would have got the sort of chariots from Warhammer. A large decorative frame placed over it. Yeah, like those things in Elden Ring that have the treasure in the back. The ones that the giant, like, the giants are carrying, and they have treasure on the back. And I think, it's like an undead, a thing to transport undead, and it would basically have the effect of this grave, but it would be able to move as well. And also, like, when it dies, it would spawn a bunch of friendly units. Yeah, that's cool. All right, I like that. Okay. So we have our Vampire Lord. Grave becomes a hearse. That's cool. This is awesome stuff. I'm liking it. We have our Frost Revenant. So we should... Banshee, Ghost. Ghost. Is that a Ghost and the Banshee the same thing? Let's it should be easy. Banshee. We've got 2 skeletons. We've got a zombie. You don't need more than 1 zombie. A ghoul. Is a ghoul the same as... Is the ghoul effectively the same as a zombie? No. Ghouls are faster. A ghoul is like your rogue. Yeah, ghoul. Ghost, Banshee. Is a ghost and a banshee the same thing? I don't know. But banshee could debuff enemies with her scream. Banshee's scream, then it upsets people. I'm just gonna go ahead and undead monsters. Frankenstein. That's that's what I'm thinking of. Frankenstein monster. I'm looking for like a short list. Ghoul is your runner. Oh, we got to have like a loot equivalent. Grave robber, right? Which would just be like a dude. We could have like a vampire's familiar, but yeah, like a grave robber. To like Tomb Raider. Undead. Headless Horseman. No horses. We could have horses. Headless Horseman. Let's put that on the sort of maybe list. I mean, yeah, Headless Horseman. I mean, since the characters are heads. Horseless Headman. And it's just a dude. It just looks like all the other characters. Okay, yeah, fine. I'll put that on the maybe list. Oh, like a cursed flying skull. Yeah, is that fun? That's kind of like that's kind of gonna do the thing of our ghoul, but it might be fun to have around. That should be like a move. Cursed flying skull. So our evil bow could become like cursed flying skull launcher. Flying skulls. I think that's better than just more big bow. Ghost. So what does the ghost do? It can move through units. That's going to be fun. It can move through enemies. It can, and it just sort of does damage. It's a bit fast. Banshee makes sense. Banshee will be a character that does a debuff. Ghost kind of feels a bit redundant. I'm going to skip that. Ghost is kind of covered. Ghoul, yes. Fast unit. Low HP. Grave Robber, yeah. Yeah, can you give me a list of iconic undead monsters? Good old AI. Searches the internet for me. Mummies! Mummies? Do we want mummies? Isn't the mummy just a zombie? Isn't the mummy just a skeleton with rags? What difference would a mummy... A mummy could do magic. A mummy could do lightning magic. Let's put that on the maybe list. So you go from like mummy to like pharaoh. Ghouls, liches. Yeah, that's kind of our revenant. That's a high level. Droga. There's our Norse stuff. Revenant. Oh, what's the difference between a powerful magic? So yeah, I'm just looking at this. A lich. Okay. And a lich versus a revenant. Okay, so they're not really the same thing. So a lich... Also, we can have like necromancer, and then that evolves into a necromancer to a lich, and then you've got a revenant, which is like vengeful spirits that return in their physical bodies to seek justice or revenge. So they would be like. I think we're just going to use, there's just going to be a Frostwhip mage, basically. And it could be like it's not that strong, but it does like a debuff of like the frost debuff everywhere around it, which would make it pretty damn scary, actually. But like really, really low HP. Again, kind of leaning into this idea of like, yeah, it's like a kamikaze type unit in a way. Wraiths. Shades. It's all kind of banshees, ghosts. Headless Horseman came up again. Whites. Okay, yeah, like skeleton would come. Edgelord is like gotta be there. It's like just like a like a tough unit. But we are running out. Or as in, yeah, I mean, we're running out of ideas a bit. I do want like a nice variety of units. We could drop this whole thing of having more, because we've got nearly 10. A Banshee would become like a Banshee would become your I guess it would be like Ghost to Banshee, but they basically do the same thing, right? Ghost to Banshee. Ghoul to... So this would be like a fast... Yeah, like a sort of hulking ghoul. What do you call that? A ghoul to like a white. Yeah, let's do that. The grave robber to a... someone who's... So we go from... In here we go from looter to lord for the human, and we go from loot goblin to glutton, as in someone who's looted everything already. And then we go from grave robber to someone who's robbed all the graves, and now they're like at the top of the grave chain, the grave food chain. Grave Lord. What does a Grave Lord do? They, I mean, maybe grave robber shouldn't be there. So we've got mummy. I mean, I guess, like, it's okay to have a bunch. So what would a mummy do? A mummy would be, like, the unit that uses electric. Like, mummy to pharaoh. Let's put that in. To pharaoh. Don't know how there's so many pharaohs. How do you spell pharaoh? I don't care. That'll do. Pharaoh. I think it's got an A. How do you spell pharaoh? Pharaoh. Oh, the A comes first. Interesting. Pharaoh. 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 I don't know. Mummy to pharaoh sort of uses lightning magic. Like a wizard type monster. I guess the grave robber could become the horseless headman, and I think that's kind of funny and cute. I think that kind of sort of the tone I'm aiming for. And then we have. So we've just got one more that we need to fill. And in my experience, like we'll struggle to fill this, and then we'll find one that's really good that we wish we had space for, and then there it goes. So I'm not too worried. Oh, like Death Knight. Can we use Death Knight? I don't think so. I think that's our edgelord. D&D Crawling Claw. That's a thing. I've seen that a few times. A shadow, like a shade. Pumpkin. No, that's spooky. That's not scary. Spider. I think that's more of a Warcraft thing. That's like the spider linked. So Warcraft linked undead and spiders together, but they don't actually have a lot to do with each other, other than both being Halloween attendants. We are talking specifically about undead. Vampire. Is there another type of vampire like the Okay, gameplay. Let's not worry about. So we've got our wizard. So we've got our standard units. That'll be our skeleton and our skeleton archer. We've got our wizards. That'll be our mummy and our ghost and our banshee. We've got our buffer. That'll be our grave. We've got our loot goblin. That'll be our grave robber. We've got our warg, which would be our ghoul. We've got our orc, our heavy unit, which feels like the zombie, the vampire, like the others, the strong melees, and brawler, also just a strong melee. And then we've got, like, what else are we missing potentially? Berserker, Shieldmaster. We don't heal. We don't heal. They do lifesteal and they do resummons. So what is an undead thing? We still got our flying skull idea, although that's kind of been taken over as a weapon. We can leave it blank, but it's going to need to match up. We need to draw the lines. We need to at least have a plan. We can change the plan later, but we need to have a plan. Otherwise, we spend forever planning. Naga, no. Death Tyrant, Dracolich. Oh, like a frost dragon. Dragons. I'm gonna stay off dragons. Because in theory, they could all have a dragon. We could have like humans could have a dragon or like a hippogriff or a chimera. That feels to me like update territory. That strikes me as update territory. Like, oh yeah, every faction gets like a dragon now, which is a big deal to summon. They'll get like a lesser animal and a high level animal. Like a dragonkin and a dragon. Mummies and pharaohs, I think that's worked. Well, it was like a lantern. Will-o-wisp. I mean, lantern feels like a cool weapon. Yeah, Staff of Command to Lantern of Doom. Yeah, Will-o-wisp sounds cool. Spectre. Yeah, like the Thing hand. That could be cool. Adam's Family. The Hare, It, Cousin It. Thing, the Hand. Fester. Morticia, like a... What are they? I would say that Gomez isn't like an undead creature. He's just like he's just into it. He's just an excitable guy. God, the actor who played the character of Gomez in the Addams Family classic movies, so good, so good. I just need something to be getting on with. It can change later. We can shuffle this around. Gameplay. We have our archetypes filled. And we also have this thing that we don't want to... So we've got like, this one's probably going to shoot frost bolts. This one's probably going to shoot arrows. And this one's probably going to shoot lightning. So we've got all of our like ranged covered. Shield bearer, bannerman, yeah, it's all covered. Generally, like 2 different types of melee. Shades are cool, and then so okay, we've thought of archetypes and we've thought of gameplay. The next thing to think of is just like the visual palette, right? So we've got like white, green, white. Red, like green, ghostly white. I'm thinking we could go hard on the Lord of the Rings and do one of those like floating soldiers, but that is just a ghost. We've got our white, we've got our like revenants and stuff. I mean, just another generic type of ghost, like a shade. But what would a shade do differently? Necromancer's cool. They're going to go around summoning people very slowly. They will carry they'll be kind of like a buffer. They'll have the Staff of Resurrection, which will mean people are just going to get resurrected left, right, and center, which will be cool. I still need to think about the mechanics of resurrection. Like, is it something that will last forever? I think it would be like, it will resurrect enemy units, but like at half HP kind of thing. Like at half their capacity. We just need one more. I mean, we can start to draw some of these connections, and maybe that will help us. So so how would you make a super Staff of Resurrection? It would be like... Let's get like the really obvious ones out of the way. Staff of Command. Scythe becomes to Gravestone. Yeah, Scythe could be... Like, what are these really obvious ones? Like, Necromancer to Lich would be like, I've taken my Staff of Command. So this would be a character who's capable of summoning units, doing their resurrections, and empowering them. So that works. Zombie to Frankenstein monster. I feel like that would be like this. Vampire to make a vampire lord, that fits the Impaler. To make chains, that'd be like a ghost, right? Evil bow to flying skulls, skeleton. Skeleton archer. Icicle to ice beam would be... I feel like that's ghost as well. What's ghost doing? No, so let's make ghost... Ice beam is like you're channeling a ghost at someone. We might change that. We might change Ice Beam to be like something more undead themed and Stormcloud, and we would do the same here as well. But it's just, it would be a powerful lightning move, a powerful fire move, a powerful ice move. Yeah, I'm thinking like Shade to like Shadow Warrior. I like the hands, especially because they were in Elden Ring as well, like crawling hands. I just think that's a really cool thing, and it would just be creepy, but it's kind of off theme. It would need its own animation. I mean, Shade is fine. Got this like black things in there floating around, and then that would become, yeah, like a Shade would become Shadow Knight, which is cool. Is that the same as an Edgelord? No. Edgelord is going to be like edgy bastard. Shadow Knight's going to be like a kind of like maybe a ninja looking type thing, like a really, you know. So then we can start to think. So Chris and Kusari. So we have our knife. Where's our rope? Where's our rope? Or equivalent. Lightning. Ah, Frankenstein's monster should use lightning. That makes much more sense. Zombie plus lightning, because that's from the thing. Okay, Vampire Lord is easy. I think it's easier to sort of think of it from this side. So staff, super staff of resurrection, a more powerful version of the resurrection staff would just need like lightning. So not lightning, it would just need like ice. We also need to make sure we're using these. Yeah. So like a Chris. See, we're already doing this. But like, where's range? Yeah. Range plus Chris equals Kusari. Resurrection would be like rations. We're doing the same thing. How do you make a... So to make the Lord, you need luck plus... It's not called luck anymore. Luck. Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, glutton. So they don't always make perfect sense, but that's okay as long as they make some sense, and as long as the really obvious ones are done. So it's rations plus loot goblin makes glutton. Yeah, that makes sense because he's fat. And then so to make rain of chicken, it's armor plus rations. Yeah, okay, fine. So this one should be a different one plus rations. Yeah, sure. Poison plus rations. Just gonna start drawing them just to get the obvious ones. Damage is like this will empower something. So like damage plus Staff of Command is Super Staff of Command. Crit rate plus what seems like a critical thing. Storm Cloud. Boots. Grave plus, yeah, so the boots is like movement. We're adding movement to the grave, therefore making it a hearse. That works nicely. Armor is like yeah, archer, skeleton archer plus armor be our revenant. Or should it be... Let's just call it Revenant. Banshee. So how would you make a Banshee? You make noise. Okay, attack speed. I'd say luck for the Grave Robber. I think that's fine. There's a bit of asymmetry there, like, because it's the luck plus Looter makes Lord. Luck plus Grave Robber makes Horseless Headman. But luck, but to advance the Loot Goblin, you need rations. I don't know. Ghost. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be good. It just needs to like make some sense. So Chris could combine with something to make. So Shade to Shadow Knight be like a high HP drain. So what are we missing? Yeah, so a Shade would be something that uses like claws, but the Shadow Knight is like a deathly rogue. So let's make that the dagger. Mummy to Pharaoh. Maybe the Pharaoh uses like ice and lightning. Is there anything that turns into a ranged unit? How would we get a white? Like some of these are just empowered versions, so you would just imagine something like attack speed or crit would be fine as the way to improve it. Currently we have no... Oh no, we do have a couple. I was going to say we have no talents that assist to make weapons. Grave Robber plus... We need to start building some of these. So Grave Robber, we're already talking about a thief, so that makes sense for lifesteal. Grave Robber plus damage is lifesteal. Special drop chance. No, we already have shield provisions. So this would be the only way to get units with a shield for the... Should I check? Oh, shields. Okay, yeah, no, we should have a unit with a shield on the undead team. Yes, we should. So what is like a grave guard? Yeah, a grave guard. And then so what like a defender of the river Styx. Like I'm thinking of what would be an undead thing that makes sense to have a shield. I mean, your shield really is made up of having more units. And having units that die and then turn into something else. Time magic. Attack speed plus... resurrection? Yeah, that makes sense. There's also the sort of like... that, yeah, I mean, there's a sort of science to like... or there's a design point of the things that an upgrade evolves into should be kind of similar to what they were before, or at least one of their outcomes should be, right? Crit rate. So we've got an output for all of the talents. I think Arrow Shower is going to change across the board, but let's just say that Evil Bow, because we've got an Evil Bow, crit rate plus the bow, or crit rate plus... yeah, so crit rate plus the bow can be our Arrow Shower. Shield provisions. Yeah, so we've got our Grave Guard, and we need a high level unit that has a shield. The Orcs don't have a low level unit that uses a shield, but they could have one, because we're going to bring in a new one. Okay, so let's assume that we need a Shadow Knight. What's making Shadow Knight? Chris plus Graveguard. Okay, let's just delete that for now. Graveguard should turn into what's that? That's more of a demon thing. The Demon Wall from Final Fantasy. The Grave. Is that a shield? Graveguard. Is there a weaker version of a shielded of an undead with a shield? Human shield. It's like literally a human shield. So do we have a weapon that's a shield? Should we have a weapon that's a shield? What would it replace? We're kind of good for weapons. Like, these are all cool. These all make sense. The only one I might consider... I think they all make sense. We could go back to... So again, from what I was talking about at the beginning, for the humans, they are supposed to be like a balanced thing. So we have 10, 10, and 10. The Orcs are 10, 12, and 8. Maybe they should be 10, 11, and 9. But maybe they should just all be 10, 10, and 10. These big, big, big decisions that one has to make in a vacuum when making this kind of game. How do we do it? What can a zombie turn into? Yeah, maybe that's the way to go. Because then we can kind of keep it quite simple and just say, well, there's a sort of version of the same thing. You know, you get two wizard characters. The Orcs only have one wizard character. So, the shaman. So they could have something like a fire shaman, right? And then they could have a shield user. So like, fire user, shield user, and then we've already got our warlock that would be like, and our totem, which uses fire, but like something else could help them become the glutton. Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. But hey, like we started with nothing here. We started with nothing, and now we've got it almost filled out. So we could think about having some kind of undead shield, which would evolve into an undead shield. So what are two orc weapons we can get rid of? The glaive is kind of meh. The throwing whirlwind is kind of meh. Tomahawks are cool, but the tomahawks are kind of meh. So I'm not super attached to any of these. So we keep the plank and we keep the spike shield, and then human keeps the shield and keeps the mirror blade, and then we could go from shield to like shield of death, like bone shield. How would that be different? I don't know. We'll figure that out. But they would get a shield, and then we would need to then remove one of these. So then, yeah, we kind of get rid of... Well, the mummies are lightning user. But we could get rid of... This could basically be like that. Right? So we get rid of Ghost. And we get rid of White. And we keep Ghoul. And we keep Banshee. And then we just kind of like... So we have a melee, a ranged. Let's write that out. So we have melee, standard melee, standard ranged, and let's just... For 5, yeah, so we got standard melee, standard ranged, so it's called melee and ranged. So I'm just thinking about what are the archetypes that I need, the gameplay archetypes, and we have buffer, runner. I already wrote these out before, but we kind of got them here now. Buffer, runner, shielder, magic 1, magic 2, and now we've got 3 ranged units. So what else are we missing? So we've got buffer, looter, healer, healer, and and then like heavy melee. Right? And then we just make sure that each one of those is catered to. And we can change them. We can say, well, no, the undead don't have a healer. What they have is a summoner. They have a necromancer. That's the equivalent. Right. I've got to go to the toilet. I'll be back in 5. Feel much better now. Right. Not back in 5 anymore. We are still here. Okay. Right, so yeah, had a little think on the toilet as well. And while we may want to do this kind of like asymmetry at some point to help give more character to each faction, I think a good starting point to build the balance around would be that they're all quite similar in terms of what their units can offer. I'll call this alt melee. Right? So we will be saying, oh, hey darling, how you doing? You missed the little 5-minute break I just took. Yeah, so in that case I need to remove 2 orc weapons and add 2 orc units. And this doesn't mean that every unit needs it. And then for weapons, can we try and do the same thing with weapons? So we'll say, like, what are the archetypes that are needed? Prado worthy. Oh, it's an art piece. Maybe Tate Modern. So we've got. We need a sword. Let's do it over the humans. Let's just do this over the humans because also I found that the orcs, like, I don't think they're balanced with the humans in a couple of ways. So we have sword. Dagger. Spear. And yeah, so each has like a type of spear, like a high range. What does spear mean? Spear means high range, high AoE. That's what that means. They also need a knockback. A knockbacker. High range and AoE. Sword, just sword. Dagger, just low range crit. Then we need shield. And then we need magic 1 and magic 2, that's the same. Looter doesn't apply. We need heal. We need range. Projectile, let's say. And I guess we should have buff. So the human has 2 types of ranged. Yeah, so we could say projectile, alt projectile. Right? Because in this case, that's the crossbow. How does this map on to orcs? We have our sword, that's there. We have our low range crit. We don't have, we're machete. We have our high range and AoE, that'll be our axe. Our knockbacker, that's kind of also our axe, so let's say that's our knockbacker. High range and AoE is kind of like club. Club's the knockbacker. Axe is the high range and AoE. Shield is the shield. So we should give orcs a shield. We can change it for something else. Like we would change for the orcs, we would change the shield in favor of another melee weapon. So let's call that the glaive or something. Magic 1 and Magic 2. Yeah, Fireball and Chain Lightning. Heal, Chain Healing. Where is that? Chain Heal, there it is. Projectile would be our boomerangs, and alt projectile would be our tomahawks. And what we end up with is space for... So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 melees. 1, 2, 3, 4 ranged. A shield and a heal. Yeah. That's balanced. That's nice. And then... So let's map it onto here. See, this is different. So immediately we don't have a heal. We have a Staff of Resurrection. Sword is sword. Always sword. Low range crit, Chris. High range and AoE, Scythe. Knockbacker. We don't have a knockbacker. We have a Impaler. We have a pull towards her. Shield. We should have a shield. Magic 1 and Magic 2. Chain Lightning and Icicle. Heal. We don't have a heal. We have our Staff of Resurrection. Projectile and alt projectile. We have our bow, but instead of alt projectile, we have... so alt projectile is incorrect. It should be faction specific. So the faction specific... faction specific. So in the case of human, that's our crossbow. Feels like quite a human thing to have. In the case of orcs, that would be an additional melee weapon. And in the case of undead, that would be our Staff of Command. And so that means we would just need a shield. It doesn't have to be a shield, but it has to serve the function of a shield. A defensive weapon. So in the orcs case... In the orcs case, that could just be another melee weapon. I think undead can have shields. It just feels like a non-orc thing. Maybe not. Maybe they all just have shields. Yeah, they each have a type of shield. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's progress. This is design. Didn't expect to have it all finished. It's just time for me to just stop and really think about this. The humans are fine. The humans are fine then. We have our like alt melee. Oh yeah, and so let's do this. So we have our... So we have melee, we have ranged, we have buffer, we have runner, we have shield. No, we don't have shielder. We have magic 1. We don't have magic 2. We have looter. We don't have healer. We do have... And yeah, and then the last one would be like faction specific. So that's something that really fits the faction. In this case, another melee. In humans' case, it is also another melee. In orcs' case, it's another melee. In undead's case, it can be something else. But so we have looter, yeah. Healer, no. Faction specific. So what have we got here? Buffer. Just to map it on. So we would need to add a shielder and a magic user. What? Runner. It's because there's 3 melees. So there's our faction specific. It's just healer that we'd be missing because we've got This feels wrong to me. So if we added a shielder and a fireballer, why would we then not have a healer? Orc, brawler. Because there's 2 missing to make 10. So we add a shielder, add a magic user, then what do we replace to make the healer? I'm confused. Melee, ranged, magic 1, buffer, loot goblin, runner, it's because we've got 3 melee, so yeah, then faction specific, and then either so that we would potentially change the brawler to be a healer, or we say that only orc hero, like there's no orc character that heals. And I think that is fine. Again, just not to change what we've got. So we would just need to add a fire user and a shield user. We could like mix the shield user and the healer. Yeah. As long as every like role is accounted for. And then again, finally, and then I'm going to go after this. We have melee, ranged, buffer, runner, shielder. We don't have shield. Yeah, graveguard, shielder, healer. It's our necromancer. Magic 1, magic 2, looter, faction specific. But we're going to get rid of one of them. I mean, that basically is parity. So would we need to give a fire user and a shield to the orcs? See, I might be overthinking this. We've kind of already succeeded in what we were doing. It kind of works. Yeah, Graveguard, and so the Shadow Knight can have a shield and something, and a weapon, and we would remove. Boomerangs are cool. Tomahawks, I'm not a huge fan of. Whirlwind Blade, I mean Glaive. Which one do we want to get rid of? They've probably got too many ranged weapons, so let's just say we got rid of Tomahawks and we gave them one more unit, which would be some kind of fire user. What would that look like? We've got our Goblin Bomber. I think that's quite fun. One thing I will not tolerate is having 12-8 and then 9-11. It would have to, it's either 8-12, or so it's either 12-8 and then 8-12, or 11-9 and 9-11. I will not tolerate 8-12, 12-8 and 9-11. That's just not. That's not cricket. So we either give this lot a further. We keep this guys how they are, and we have a further ally here and get rid of a weapon. I don't want to do that. No, let's get rid of one of these weapons. So again, we can say orcs don't have shields. Undead don't have a shield weapon, but they have a shield character. And they've got too many. So boomerangs, whirlwind blade, throwing whirlwind, shrapnel axes. No, I mean that's just silly. Whirlwind blade's cool. Scimitars, yeah. Plank to shield, yeah, that's fine. They've got a weapon shield, but only for heroes. Club is like, yeah, just have an extra melee weapon. I don't want it, or should I get rid of? Should I get rid of? So yeah, I'll just copy this just so I can like still have it all intact. So our sword is here. Sword is there. Low range crit is here. High range and AoE is here. Knockbacker is here. I mean, club could go. I just want to sort of measure the balance. So yeah, shield, magic. Oh, we don't have magic 2. Oh yeah, we do have magic 2. Magic 1, magic 2. Heal. Projectile. Faction specific. I think the glaive is a bit like, what are you doing here? So we either get rid of a melee weapon or I say we get rid of this ranged weapon. I'm not sure if it fits. So yeah, this marked for deletion. So delete tomahawk, add fiery shield user. We don't have a healer. Yeah, okay, so we need to either add fire user, shield user, or a healer. There can be something that does a couple of those things. We can say that healing is, so yeah, like just to be like offensive, to be character driven. Because it would be like fire dancer, and then that would combine with, is that really right? Shaman plus scimitar is warlock. No, that's not right. Should be like shaman. It would be like shaman plus the other one to make a warlock who can do both, who could do fire and lightning. And then we would have like, we've got a shield user on that side. So it would be like a fire user that evolves into a healer, right? Which kind of makes sense as well. So it'd be like a baller. Yeah, fire user. Let's just say, is that what it already said? Yeah, fire user into fire user / healer. That works. Okay. So then this is fine. I need to finish drawing the connections, but this is fine. We've got our bases covered. We had it right the first time. No need to overthink it. We don't have a shield for the main character. The orcs have access to all types of weapons that they could want. We just, and plus an extra melee weapon. And they need to be, and we need to cut one of their, so yeah, and this is what I need to write down. So remove tomahawk and shrapnel axis. And then as I do that, I need to redo the connections and add. So I'm thinking like a fire dancer. Should it be an orc or a goblin? Yeah, like a fire starter. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, fire starter, and it's like a goblin with the haircut of the guy from Prodigy. Yeah, so add fire starter. And then that can evolve into, because we've got our like goblin warlock, that makes sense. And we could change like shaman to zapper. Like what is, because the character that does like healing and fire would be, so add fire starter and shaman, change shaman to zapper. Yeah, that feels orcish. Okay, so I'm clear on my instructions. I don't need to worry about design. I can just say, right, just do this. Do this. And then, of course, if we want to change it later down the line, if we say, no, actually, we should have a shield for undead heroes. We should have... I want tomahawks back for whatever reason. That if we want to do any of that, we can. But for now, this works really well. Kusari's cool. Like, all of these are cool. Tomahawks was like, I wasn't really feeling it. The boomerang's cool because it goes out and comes back. That's fun. The glaive is cool just because it's another big melee weapon for the orcs to use. Maybe we can change that later down the line into something completely different. I can't think of anything specific right now. But yeah, I think this works well. Yeah. Yeah, so we're removing tomahawk and shrapnel axes. So then we need to think of the other thing that would be... I mean, yeah, like, so fire user plus boomerangs would be grenades. And then shrapnel axes. And then boomerangs would need to have another output. Boomerang plus... Like, it's awkward because if you just swap to the new thing, then you end up with... like double combos, if that makes sense. So like the only other double combo is luck. So where the two items can combine into two different things, but it's the same combo. So luck plus looter can be lord or shield provisions, right? Because looter is the other ingredient for shield provisions plus luck, right? So if you have luck and looter, you will now have access to either one of these combo upgrades. And I feel like that shouldn't happen too often. But if we said fire user, I mean, we could just do this now. But I just need to like kind of keep a note of it. So tomahawk, I just need to remember what changes I've made. So tomahawks plus is gone. So to make so we just need to account for these bits that are missing. So glaive and boomerangs, glaive and I guess that's kind of convenient. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure that out. Still some design to do in finishing these connections. But now that I've had a good think about it and really like gone in there and had a good old wiggle around, I'm more confident. I'm going to be more confident as I kind of finish drawing these connections. So, yeah, I don't know about this. There'll also be the job of making sure that Oh wait, no, I wanted to keep this. There'll also be the job of having some of these artifacts only work for specific factions. So for example, since black beans have no way to heal, I mean, they'll be able to heal using artifacts, but we don't want them to have access to the artifacts which trigger on heal. Which kind of makes me think that all of them should be missing one mechanic. Oh, that just gave me an idea. Sorry, artifacts. So I just want to write down artifacts for when an attack is blocked, right? Just to encourage blocking, and then that would just synergize extremely well with shield provisions. Just every time something's blocked, something happens. Could be that every time something's blocked, it's reflected. We've already got the code for that. Or it could be that every time something's blocked, just like all the others, heal all units, heal the unit that blocked, that kind of thing. Yeah, that would be cool. So we have artifacts when an attack is blocked. I'm just thinking now. Sorry, I'm scatterbrained while designing, but if we're saying that undead units won't have access to heal proc artifacts, so artifacts that are procced by healing, that'll kind of mean they're more likely to get the other ones that they do want. Is there an equivalent to orcs that there would be one of these that they don't have access to? Like orcs don't do much. They do healing. They do a bit of everything. Again, I'm just looking for that symmetry. I mean, you could just leave it on and it's a dead pick, or like resurrection counts as a heal. Right? Like, if a unit dies and then comes back, it's actually healing itself. And if a unit is resurrected, that is a heal. Okay, I'll just put that in a note. So yeah, not that. They shouldn't have HP regen by default. They should have resurrection counts as a heal. Maybe less powerful, but at least it deals with that symmetry issue. Okay. Right, so we filled out these. We still need to draw the connections. But I think that was a decent session of design. And I'm going to let my brain rest for now. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. So yeah, please join me tomorrow. Thanks very much. And yeah, have a good evening. Cheers.